but needs just repetition. So I guess my question to you then is, isn't what you're proposing simply repetition and not a complete change in strategy?
I'm sorry, give me a sec.
Lecture style should remain, but teaching other style just add the current education style.
I think our answer to you is we never say that current education system like lectures or reading is bad. Just what we want to say is just adding teach other style to the current education system. I think that's answer to you. Is it fine? I think all of our answers.
All right, your sincere attitude actually pleased enough. Okay, let us accommodate two more questions from the floor. And then one gentleman to the left-hand side, and then the lady to the far right-hand side. The gentleman first.
Thank you very much, first and foremost, for the presentation. I think it was quite an insight regarding the current developments. But when I was following up the presentation, I think I've realized that maybe by now we need to be able to define really what we mean by a quality teacher. I think that is coming to be a relative term. Because basically I was looking at Japan that we've been presenting about. Currently it is about 2.5 million people who are not employed. So maybe I would like to think is one commentator said that maybe we need to look at other issues that should accompany our definition of a quality teacher. For example, I was suggesting that maybe it's now the aspect of producing job creators more than job seekers. Currently, we might have quality teachers teaching our children, training our children, doing everything in schools, but at the end of the day, we produce graduates who flock the streets. Then at the end, we cannot talk of that as maybe quality education. But if we produce people with an entrepreneurship mindset, who at the end of the day can create something for themselves, even for the school, for anyone, I think that can become much more of assistance, especially as we get to the post-2015 era, regarding the issue of maybe trying to reduce the current unemployment, which is actually the global issue by now. So I think it's something else that we need to look at as we define quality education, so that it produces something that helps even reducing our unemployment rate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very intuitive, but you don't have to answer this question. Just just good comments add on your point, because you focus more on class learnings. So now I'd like to invite one more, the lady.
Thanks for good presentation. I have a question. You say teaching others is more effective than just lecture. So we should have given the chance a lot of college students who would be the future teachers the chance to teach others. So I have questions. Is there any other option instead of over the internet to teach others? What do you think about it?
I think there are other ways to teaching other style, but today our research paper focus on through internet. So. It is okay. It is okay to answer.
All right, the last comment will be given to Artemi, the UNDP office in Seoul.
Thank you very much for your presentation. And I just need to make this comment from UNDP's side, because you are the second team which addresses the issue of the MDG deadline. And I just want to clarify that the deadline for the MDGs is the end of 2015, and post-2015 starts officially from 2016. It doesn't mean, of course, that we need to relax, but we still have one more year to go for the MDG implementation. And I obviously liked your idea about teaching as learning, and I hope you will develop it further in your further research. Thank you.
Okay, to close this presentation, for me, you guys actually showed a very elegant attitude of Japanese and then good demeanor, though a bit passive, and then you need a little bit, need time to expose yourself more to international community. But anyway, you silently actually persuaded the audience, so don't be afraid of it. And then the secondary, I would like to pinpoint that you have emphasized the importance of learning by teaching, which is quite innovative way of improving quality education. And then thirdly, you have also made good suggestions of building or joining learning community in developing countries, which is also very, very good point that you have mentioned. Thank you very much for your efforts, and then wish you could improve yourself very much in the future. Thank you.
Third paper in the contest, session 2, will be presented by 정다혜, 조승희, 황혜민 from Ewha Women's University in Korea. Please welcome them with a warm round of applause. The title of the paper is Education in Refugee Camps as a linkage between humanitarian assistance and development.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Tae Chung, Seung-hee Jo, and Haemin Hwang from Ewha Women's University. Our presentation is about education in refugee camps as a linkage between humanitarian assistance and development. Today's presentation will follow the introduction part and the prospect for post-MDGs framework. Lastly, 2 suggestions for the role of universities in the post-MDGs will be presented. Poverty is a vicious cycle, which is very difficult to cut off. People who suffer from poverty have low access to education. Thus, their illiteracy rate is very high. These factors lead them to have a very low socioeconomic status, and therefore they cannot survive from poverty because the same cycle happens again and again. The key to solve this continuous problem is education at all levels in order to lower the illiteracy rate and elevate one's socioeconomic status. Thus, we believe that education, especially higher education with high quality, is very important in the post-MDGs to eradicate poverty. We were not the only ones who thought that education is important to eradicate poverty. Actually, in 2000, world leaders gathered at New York in order to set the Millennium Development Goals. Goal 2 and 3 are related to education among the 8 MDGs. To be specific, Goal 2 emphasizes the completion of primary education, and Goal 3 emphasizes the elimination of gender disparity among primary and secondary education. Despite the contributions to resolve poverty, the 2 MDG goals have some fundamental limitations to completely eradicate poverty. First, the completion of primary education is not enough in order for the economic survival of an individual and the community. Second, even though secondary education is emphasized, the supply is far behind the high demand. Lastly, higher education is compulsory to realize a long-term development that is not included in the MDGs. Recently, world leaders are discussing the prospect for the post-MDGs framework. The post-MDGs framework emphasizes long-term development in order to completely eradicate poverty. Sustainability is necessary for long-term development, and self-reliance of individuals is important for sustainability. In order to realize these steps, high-quality education and higher education is necessary. Thus, we suggest that for a long-term development, which the post-MDGs are aiming for, higher education with high quality is essential. The importance of education is widespread, but there is a dead zone of it, which is the refugee camps. Did you know that there are approximately 51.2 million refugees all over the world? This number is the same as the 26th largest country in the world, which is South Korea. According to the UNHCR 2013 Global Report, 86% of the refugees come from developing countries, where there is not enough human and material resources to restore their communities by themselves. The refugee camps are in an emergency relief status, where life-saving is important. Thus, they aim to guarantee the minimum level of protection in sectors of water, food, and hygiene, according to the SPHERE standard, which is a guideline for the refugee camps made by UN and NGOs. In fact, some refugee camps provide education to refugees for their capacity development. However, schools are frequently shut down due to the camp situations. Refugees live in the refugee camps for about 5 years on average. Then what would happen if these refugees are not provided with full education during this period? The education gap will widen, and this will just trap these people in the vicious cycle of poverty forever. This is a very serious problem that is threatful for the life-saving sector of these refugees. We are questioning the reason why education is not included in the SPHERE standard, despite the role for for its role for life-saving. We are emphasizing that the role of higher education has a great contribution to the linkage between relief and humanitarian assistance, and furthermore, long-term development. The UNHCR refugee camp in Nepal provides constant education, but it cannot link to long-term development due to the absence of higher education. The Bhutanese refugees originally lived in Nepal, but they fled to Bhutan for religious freedom. However, they were forced to be expelled to Nepal by the Bhutanese government. These people are currently in a double displacement situation since neither country acknowledges them as their citizens. In the UNHCR refugee camp in Nepal, the Bhutanese refugees are provided with high-quality education despite their harsh status. The quality of education in Nepal refugee camps is very high. First, the teacher-student ratio is 1:42, which is slightly overpassing the UNHCR goal, which is 1:40. This is a very ideal classroom environment where teachers and students can interact effectively with each other. Secondly, teachers are supplied continuously by training refugees who finished refugee camps and education. This innovative system allows refugees to receive a constant and high-quality education in the refugee camps. However, some limitations disconnect the linkage to long-term development. First, due to the lack of funding from UNHCR, secondary education is provided insufficiently. Likewise, higher education that is significant for producing elites that can contribute to restore their communities is absent. There are some lucky students who have the opportunities to receive higher education, but they search jobs in urban areas. The problem here is that the leakage of well-educated human resources deters self-reliant community building. On the other hand, the miracle on Han River proves that higher education is decisive for long-term development. In fact, the miracle on Han River is the one and only case where a beneficiary country became a donor country. To be short, well-educated human resources from higher education played a decisive role in the South Korean rapid and long-term development. Despite the extreme poverty right after the Korean War, the quantity of education in Korea increased. The number of primary students increased, so to accommodate increased students who completed primary schools, the number of secondary schools increased. Therefore, South Korea well satisfied the rising demand of secondary school enrollments due to the increased number of primary school graduates. The quality of education in South Korea has also improved greatly. In order to supply high-qualified teachers, 2- and 4-year teacher training schools were established, and the number of high-qualified teachers increased. In addition to maintain the quality of education environment, South Korea endeavored to decrease the teacher-student ratio. Therefore, the South Koreans were able to receive high-quality education despite the extreme poverty situation right after the Korean War. The comprehensive planning, which linked education to economic development, is the key how South Korea witnessed such a rapid and long-term development. South Korea focused on different industries throughout its economic development. The government fostered higher level of educations along with each developmental stage in order to supply appropriate human resources to each industry. During the labor-intensive industry, primary schools were fostered. And during the heavy and chemical industry, the South Korean government fostered secondary schools. Lastly, as Korea entered the technology and knowledge-based industry, higher education institutions such as universities were fostered. Likewise, the critical point here is that higher education plays a decisive role in a technology-integrated industry where a long-term and rapid development is realized. We found that the lack of higher education in the refugee camps is the reason why the poverty status of refugee camps cannot lead to long-term development. Thus, refugee camps